way it goes. Just the way it goes. Degrees.
Welcome, college football fans. I am your boy Svo, and I have my partner with me, Brewhan Luke. Luke, how are you today, buddy?
Not too bad, man. Things are going well. Like I was saying before we went on the air, I was at Pearl Jam last night for night one at the United Center. So long day today, but anything for Pearl Jam. Rocking in the free world, man.
I mean, you got Pearl Jam, and you're back at work. You're back in school doing your thing.
Yeah.
It's busy times for you, man. When's the next Sox game for you, Luke?
I believe they come back home Monday or Tuesday next week.
I'm sorry that you have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's a good time with the crew there in the section still.
They're all good people, man. They're all good people, so I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Luke, we have a lot to discuss today. College football is in full swing, and you love it as much as I do. So why don't we get right into it? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, let's rock and roll.
So let's do it. Luke, I think we watched our first college football game like a year ago today together. This is a picture from that day. We watched LSU Florida State at the Superdome last year together when FSU blocked that last second kick.
Yeah. That was that was something. That was a wild ending to that game.
That was a wild ending, and I don't know if you remember, but I was there, and I'm not super approachable when I'm watching a Knowles game.
Yes, and I remember this.
I had a guy that just came up, and he wanted to talk with me the last 2 minutes of the quarter, and it was super frustrating. And I remember you trying to run interference and you talking to him so I could focus. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But let's get into like our first segment. I think we're going to go studs and duds, winners and losers from week one. And I'm going to let you kick it off, Luke. Is there anybody specific that you want to mention, stud or dud wise? It doesn't matter what order we go in.
Let's start with the studs. The one stud for me personally that I thought stood out was just the Pac-12 conference in general, going 13-0. They haven't lost a game. USC won the week before as well. Just the amount of points scored on offense by the entire team, in every game. Just the team totals were through the roof. Some teams had some questionable defense still, which is kind of part of the Pac-12 MO for most teams. But I mean, 13-0, like there's one, like I don't remember what year it was they showed the stat, but only one other time it's happened. It was also the Pac-12. This is the Pac-12 farewell tour, and I think we're in for a very fun season in the Pac-12, and they set the tone right off the bat. Like I said in our last episode, there's going to be a Pac-12 team in the playoffs this year. I don't know who particular it is. I know who I prefer it to be. Yeah, that's my first stud of week one is the Pac-12.
Okay, so the Pac-12. I mean, you have your reigning Heisman Trophy winner in that conference. He had a good week one, right? And there's some rumors, NFL wise, that Caleb Williams might come back for another year if he doesn't like the direction that the Arizona Cardinals are going.
Who does he think he is? Eli Manning?
Well, with NIL money, with NIL money, like it's a different narrative now.
Yeah.
It's a different narrative now. I hate to do this, but I'm gonna go my first stud. I'm gonna go Travis Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Dude played 101 snaps in the game against TCU. He had 10 catches for 122 yards or something like that. I don't remember the exact numbers. He also had an interception. The guy, it was also 100 degrees on the field in Abilene, right?
Yeah.
Travis Hunter is nuts. And it kills me to say it because he was a Florida State commit for a long time. He didn't flip until signing day. And Dion and Barstool Sports offered him the NIL money and he flipped, but he killed it. He is going to be an absolute stud on Sundays. And I think that brings me into my first dud of the week, Luke.
Okay.
I'm going to dud you and I for absolutely just shitting all over Colorado in our first episode. We said they're going to win 3 games total all season. And I know we know it's only week 1, but they have a shitty Nebraska team this week. And Shadir Sanders and Travis Hunter are playing with a chip on their shoulder. Like they could be 2-0 and we shit on them right away. So we are the first duds of the week.
Yeah, they I felt like I was in that press conference when Dion was calling everybody out in the media. I was like, yeah, I fucked that up.
Yep, we screwed that up. We screwed that up.
So it happens, you don't know a lot. And then you see what happens. Like we could get into Colorado more when we get through the rankings. I have a lot more thoughts on them as well.
Absolutely. What else do you got? Who you got a dud?
Yeah, I got a couple duds. Baylor football. Holy crap. You gave up 42 points to Texas State. Now, Texas State is in the first year with a new head coach, I believe. He was if memory serves me correctly, he was the head coach at Incarnate Word last year, which was a FCS like powerhouse for the last couple of years. Just absolutely electric offense. So the coach is legit. He's a good offensive coach. But you're still going up against Baylor in week 1. Like Dave Aranda, you're on the hot seat already, man. Because now you got to go. Now you're going to get shit pumped by Utah the way things are looking. Like you're in for a hurting, man.
Man,
Baylor, like 42 points to Texas State in week 1. Like, and you were down 2 scores or 2 touchdowns at halftime. Like you were never even in the game. What is going on there?
Baylor did not look good at all. That team, it doesn't surprise me. They've never perennially been really great. There was a couple weird years where they were good, but that team has fallen back to earth. I don't love Baylor. I have a dud. Yumper, my other podcast partner, brought it up. I'm gonna dud Dabo Sweeney and Clemson. When that church money does not funnel in. And you can't pay your players because the NIL deals are balanced all over the place. Now you shit the bet against Duke and they shit the bet against Duke. And I'm going to just say it. I know it's only week 1. They went with the wrong quarterback.
Wow.
Because what happened at Oregon State this week? He looked good. DJU looked good, right?
Yep.
And Clemson is a dud. And I hate Dabo Sweeney. He's a terrible human being. But it doesn't hurt me that that they took that big L to Duke.
Yeah. I'll go back to a stud who I also just realized now is also a dud for the week. Riley Leonard at Duke. This guy's legit, man. You do what he did to Clemson. I mean, it was at home, but like that's an NFL quarterback. Right there. He's going to be an NFL draft pick.
I think my favorite part of that whole thing was in his post-game interview, he asked his professor if he could have an extension on his homework, and the professor made a reply video, and he was like, hey, your offensive lineman brothers got that homework done. You're not getting an extension. It was just pretty funny that they stormed the field, and he was asking his professor for extension on his homework.
Yeah, and that's why Riley Leonard is also my dud. Bro, you go to Duke, man. It's a high academic standard school.
work done.
Like, get your work done. You know you fucked up right away, and like you go on national TV to try to get an extension, thinking, "Oh yeah, if I mention on national TV, like you're a smart guy, you go to Duke, like, and you are a very, very talented quarterback who has a future in the NFL, from what I can see, dude. You're a dud for that. Like you knew what you had to do, and
I think maybe he was playing a little bit, but I'll allow that. I got a stud and a dud that kind of go hand in hand together. Florida State wide receiver Keon Coleman, first game with the Noles, 3 touchdown catches. He had a hat trick in the end zone. Just an absolute difference maker on offense with Jordan Travis. Which brings me into my other dud, and that is LSU's head coach Brian Kelly for absolutely saying that they were going to wreck Florida State, and they did not. Florida State's second half was pretty much flawless except for a garbage time touchdown, and they beat the pants off that Tigers team. And then today in a press conference, he said he never said that. So for that, Brian Kelly, you are a dud.
It was in like his weekly coaches show that he said it. Was he
was
blacked
everywhere.
out drunk? Like,
It was
did he?
everywhere. He might have been.
Like, he does some weird shit. He pretends to have a New Orleans accent. He probably was trying to say, "Yeah, I didn't say that," because he probably didn't remember. Maybe he's not very bright and he has a short-term memory and he's trying to forget about things and move on. But like, dude, you said it, and like the memes of Brian Kelly throughout this week have been one of my favorite things to watch.
It was so good. It was so good. That was a good watch. And then what else do you got, Luke?
My other dud, Graham Mertz, Florida quarterback, transfer from Wisconsin. Holy crap, was he terrible. Like, I know it was on the road at Utah. Very, very challenging place to play. But dude, you played in the Big Ten. You look worse than you did at Wisconsin. And Florida's in trouble if that's their starting quarterback moving forward. Graham Mertz, you're a dud for week 1.
Well, they're already on QB. This would be QB3, right? Because Jalen Kitno was supposed to be QB1. And then whatever happened. We're not going to get into that. But then if you're going to dud Graham Mertz, then you got to dud Billy Napier too, man. Sunbelt Billy is not the guy that they think he is in Gainesville. Now, I know you defended that hire, Luke, but he couldn't win with the number 4 overall pick in the draft last year, Anthony Richardson. Like, he looks like ass right now with an even worse quarterback. So, like, defend your boy Billy, Luke.
I'm going to give him more time. Year 2, game 1, year 2. I mean, they looked really, really bad. I think you get him, all of his recruits and his personnel in there, a little bit more time. I mean, you saw it with Florida State, how long it took Mike Norvell to right the ship there. It might take this much time for Billy Napier.
Yeah, that's horseshit though, Luke, because Dan Mullen did not leave that program the same shape that Willie Taggart did.
Oh, he absolutely didn't. But still, I mean, you still have to. It's a new system, a new coach, new personnel. You've got to give it more time. Like, I get it, and I understand why people are saying he's not the right guy. I will give it till at least year 3. You know, usually like coaching shelf life should be for a college coach. I always say give him the 5-year plan, but there's sometimes there's writing on the wall in year 3 where you could say, yeah, this isn't going to work. You could already see things, and you could see that there could be some tension and some egos, you know, in those locker rooms, and you're like, okay, we got to get rid of this guy before year 5. Year 3 is always like the first one where I'm like, okay, let's see how things go. So he might not be the guy, but I'm not ready to say that yet.
I think that they should be already writing an apology letter to Dan Mullen, because Sunbelt Billy is not it. But hey, man, we'll see. And I'm not even mad that like he sucks, because he's the Gators head coach. So it is what it is. So that's our studs and duds for the week. Unless you got anything else, Luke, do you want to jump into the top 25 recap?
Yeah, let's go. Let's dig right into it.
So we're just going to do a quick recap of the AP top 25. We'll start right off the bat with Clemson, one of our duds of the week, right? They came in the week as the number 9 team in the country, right behind Florida State. And that Monday night loss to Duke, It almost knocked them out of the AP top 25 poll. Luke, what do you think about Clemson?
I am glad that we are doing the AP top 25 poll and not the coaches
Not
poll,
the
where
coaches
where
poll, right?
Clemson
Yep.
is somehow rated ahead of Duke. I think some coaches either forgot to put in their ballots or they put in their ballots on like Sunday morning after the majority of the games were done, because that's the only reason why Clemson would be ranked ahead of Duke, because they didn't think that was going to be like, oh yeah, Clemson, okay, like so.
It was a bad loss.
They're fortunate to still be in the rankings. If we're being fully honest, that's how bad it was. They got, they got boat raced.
It was a bad loss. Cade Klubnarek did not look good. Neither did Shipley, and like you said, Duke just kind of did whatever they wanted. It was, I think that score could have been way more lopsided, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
All right, let's keep it going. We have the Tulane Green Wave in at number 24. They beat South Alabama 37-17 last week, so they didn't move up or move down at all. Texas A&M, they pistol whipped New Mexico this week, and they have a big game coming up this week. We'll talk a little bit more. Luke, do you got anything about Texas A&M or Jimbo Fisher, my old buddy?
I'm curious about their matchup this week to see what's going to happen. So,
okay, yeah, I mean,
Miami
is not ranked. They did receive a vote, a few votes to be ranked, but they're not ranked. So Texas A&M should be favored. I didn't even look at the lines yet. Did you?
I have not looked at that line.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see about Texas A&M, and then we have the newcomer. The newcomer to the top 25, the Colorado Buffaloes. They were the talk of the offseason. They made the big splashy hire. They got Dion in. They got prime time in from Jackson State. You mind if I go first with this one, Luke?
Let it rip.
So obviously, I love Deion Sanders. He is a legend in Tallahassee, even though there's a little bit of outs there. But Deion is good for college football. He gets people talking about college football, and they are excited to see this program. He's got to sign up in his office, and I think it's really, really important. Not important, but it's really, really cool. It says the better you play, the more they pay, right? And I think it's important that these kids, they do get paid, right? Because these schools are making millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars, if you will. And I love like that Deion is talking about that stuff. And he went out this week and he proved it. Like they beat TCU and it was, 104-93, but they beat TCU. It wasn't really 104-93. It was 45-42.
Yep.
And they got some ballers on the offensive side of the ball, man.
Yeah, it's impressive. I don't agree with everything Deion Sanders does, like going into the locker room on day one of the job and saying, you're going to get the hell out of here because I don't want you here. If you don't buy and leave. Like, I didn't like that. And he was basically forcing everybody from Colorado. They had 70 people transfer. We talked about that last week. But he brought some guys in, and he proved every single person wrong. I didn't hear a single person say, oh, yeah, they're going to put up a fight against TCU. Keep in mind, though, the one thing is they still gave up 40-plus points to TCU, who clearly is not the same TCU that we saw in the national championship game last year. Like, they beat a team that played for the national championship last year, but that was not the same team. This is a team with a much weaker defense that had struggles on defense last year, but it's still, you could see, like, Deion exposed the hell out of that defense. He was probably watching the Georgia tape from the national championship and studying that film. He's a baller. He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
I mean, yeah.
But you also, like, I think the other story that he told this week was his son going to a camp in Abilene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they ignored him. And Shadir remembered it. And he threw 510 yards and 5 touchdowns. And he knew what he was doing, right? Stories like that make me super pumped about like what's going on there. And yeah, it's not the traditional college football that you grew up with and you loved, but like it's good for the game because it gets people talking about it. So
Yes, Dion is great for college football. He's a different voice, which rubs people the wrong way, sometimes myself included.
yeah,
But it's something that the sport needs because it draws more interest into college football. Like you have outsiders that are kind of like, meh, but then they see Dion, they're like, oh, I'm going to watch Colorado now.
well,
It's huge.
what happened on Saturday afternoon when Colorado was playing, Luke? We got a DM from our boy Brian, Magnificent Stan. He just happened to turn on the game, right?
Yep.
And he was like, "Man, I'm really glad I turned that on." Like, I can't imagine he would have like turned on a Colorado TCU game just for the hell of it.
Yep.
If Dion wasn't there, like he draws that. He draws, and it's good for the game.
He brings ratings, and Dion knows that he brings ratings.
Agreed completely. All right, let's see, what do we got next? We have the Duke Blue Devils. Yep. We just talked about Duke and that win over Clemson on Monday night. I was very, very impressed with how they were out physical. They out physicaled Clemson all night on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
Right call, good call after good call. And Leonard looked like, he had been running that offense for 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, they also have a very good defense.
Yeah.
They returned some guys on defense. They lost some guys, but they added more on the backfield through the transfer portal. And they look like they are just picking up right where they left off on defense there. They might just fuck around in the ACC and not win it, but like they're going to be.
Yeah, I completely agree. That is a game that I'm not overlooking on my schedule because they're a good team.
Watch them be in the mix for a New Year's Six bowl down the stretch.
It wouldn't surprise me. Duke's a football school now, man.
That's right.
All right, what do we got next? We have Ole Miss. What did Ole Miss do this week? Are they new to the rankings?
No, they were there last week.
They were there last week. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart here.
They
put up 75 points on Mercer.
Yeah, whatever. That's why nobody.
They moved up they were at 22, so they moved up a few spots.
Yeah, they were. Their focus is on this week because they got Ole Miss and Tulane.
Yeah, Mercer does 73 points on Mercer does not impress me. So let's go to the Badgers. We got Bucky. They beat up Buffalo 38-17 last week. This was your sleeper pick to be competitive in the Big Ten.
Yeah, from what I could see, they started out a little slow, but then they got in the groove. Just a little tune-up for getting ready for Big Ten play here. I think we're going to start to see, like, once Phil Longo gets that offense running and Luke Fickell can do his thing, with the entire program, like, they're going to do some things because Phil Longo is an air raid guy. He was at North Carolina last year, but they got one of the best running backs in the entire country there. They don't have to air raid when you got the best running back in the entire country, but they can air raid, which is the scary part about it. So I'm excited to watch what that offense is going to do. Their defense is going to be one of the better ones in the Big Ten, like they always are. I'm excited to see what they can do moving forward. I expect them to continue to climb the rankings.
Have you ever been to a game at Camp Randall?
It's high up on my list.
It is very high up on my list. It is very high up on my list as well. I also, there's a couple things. Maybe we could do a segment on that later on down the road but Camp Randall is definitely on that list. All right, what else do we got? We have the Oklahoma Sooners.
That was a whatever game, right?
Yeah, it was. Why am I having a brain fart? It was Arkansas State. They hung up 73 points on Arkansas State. Like, I get it, right? Yeah. You got to schedule those games, but I want to see what you do when you play some real competition.
Right.
North Carolina is another team where everyone's really high on Drake May. And I think Drake May is really, really good, like a really, really good college quarterback. But I don't know. The more and more I watch, I don't know if he is going to be an NFL caliber quarterback.
I'll say this about North Carolina's performance this week. There were so many doubters about North Carolina against this South Carolina team in a big rivalry game. Everybody said that it's a trap game. South Carolina's better than you think. And they handled it fine. Like they proved a lot of doubters wrong, just like Dion proved all the doubters wrong. I don't know why so many people are like hesitant on North Carolina. I know their defense is trash, but have a little bit more respect for a team that was like one of the best offenses in the country last year. Like, they're still solid. Like people were downplaying North Carolina a lot. So I'm intrigued to see what happens down the road here.
I'm not like that's not a knock on North Carolina at all. I just watched more and more of Drake May this week, and he makes some really, really incredible throws at the college level.
Yeah,
but those throws won't be there in an NFL lane. Now he very well may be in New York for a Heisman presentation. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I don't know if I buy him as an NFL caliber quarterback.
Yeah, North Carolina quarterbacks have not had a long string of recent success in the NFL.
We don't talk bad about Mitch Trubisky in this podcast.
Pittsburgh Steeler Mitch Trubisky.
Pittsburgh Steeler Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
God, I hope he starts a bunch of games for the Steelers.
No, that would not be fun. I don't want to see that.
I just said that because I know Baloney's watching, and therefore Julie will probably hear it as well. But yeah, North Carolina won 31-17 against the Gamecocks. And then we have the Oregon State Beavers who played San Jose State. They played the Spartans this week. And their quarterback performance was pretty good from DJU. What did DJU do? Let's see. Let's look at the box score for DJU. 24-25 with 239 yards, but 3 touchdowns and a QB rating of 92, right? Like, it's way better than what Cade did at Clemson. And I know it was San Jose State, but yeah.
I'm not going to say anything nice about the Beavers.
I know you won't. I know you won't. This wasn't a Beaver love fest. This was just acknowledging his performance. I watched that game from a bar on Brady Street in Milwaukee before the primetime game. It was pretty fun.
Okay.
But yeah, they are 1-0 after beating San Jose State. And then we have the Kansas State Wildcats. I'm still waiting to see what these guys can do. They hung up 45 on Southeast Missouri.
They have one of the most underrated coaches in the country. The more and more I watch this, I think they're going to be right there in the mix to win the Big 12. Sleeper team in the Big 12. I think UCF should get a lot more respect being in the Big 12. They dominated week 1 against, I don't remember who they were playing, but off the top of my head, but
we need to talk about UCF after you finish your point about K-State, because I want to talk about something.
K-State, again, should be in that New Year's 6 mix, Big 12 champion mix. They're good, and their coach came from a winning program. He was the head coach at North Dakota State before he came over to Kansas State. Like this program's going places, and I'm excited to watch what they can do. I mean, they lost some guys to the NFL, but good programs reload. They don't rebuild. So I think that's what we're going to see.
That's exactly it. So let's talk about UCF. UCF posted a billboard today after an announcement that Miami did. Miami, if you bought tickets to the Texas A&M game, they were doing buy one, get one tickets. If you bought a ticket to the A&M game, you got a ticket for another game down the road, right? Now, Miami has historically never really drawn like a large crowd. It's a smaller school, 17,000, right? And they have a hard time filling up. They call it the Rock or Hard Rock Stadium, which, if you don't know, is actually owned by the Seminole Tribes of Florida. That's a legit story.
Oh, wow.
But they have a hard time filling up that stadium. And UCF posted a ticket sales thing. They're like, hey, this game's almost sold out. There's no buy one, get one offer. Come to this game. So they were trolling Miami, which I think is hilarious because they're always trying to like throw their names in the wrench as part of the big 3, big 4 in Florida. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny today. Yumper, you have a good night, buddy. You feel better. All right. My boy Yumper's a little under the weather. So,
oh man.
But no, I agree with you with K-State. Like that's a team that could do some damage.
Yeah. Chris Kleiman, he's a program builder.
LSU. LSU slid a little bit. They were the number 5 team in the country, but they got an ass beating this week. Brian Kelly threw his team absolutely under the bus in the post-game press conference, and it makes me like him a little bit less every time he talks. I've never really liked him.
Never. Who? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. They slid to 14.
14.
That's not low enough.
I would agree. Like,
people
they
are being nice.
They lost to the number 8 team in the country, but like, I am not sold on their quarterback play, and their defensive line did not show up at all.
Yeah, I like, okay, you deserve to still be ranked when you lose to a top 5 team or top 10 team in the country like that, when you're ranked as high as LSU. But man, they should be like 20.
They did not look good. They did not look good in that second half of football at all. Just completely unprepared. There was no halftime adjustments. Like, yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't fall further.
Yeah.
I want to break down that game more when we get to the number 4 team in the country. So we're just going to move on, and we're going to let you take it away.
This is not high enough for the ranking. I mean, I know they played Portland State and it was 81-7, but you have to also keep in mind they sat out about 5 starters that are going to be in this weekend against Texas Tech that are like returning all Pac-12 players and that are NFL draft, ready. They could have gone pro. Mace Funa is one of them. He's going to be a big name out there. 81-7, like with your 2s and your 3s in the second half. And not only that, they played 21 true freshmen. Okay, they had 21 true freshmen in the game. They had 5 different running backs go into the game. Bo Nix did his thing. He came out to start the second half. I think they just wanted him to get a couple more reps in. But, your second and third stringers and true freshmen in their first ever college football game in Autzen Stadium were not coming out like, hesitant or anything. They're making a statement. And yeah, 81 points. Oh, did they really have to score that much? Yes, they did. You have to put up a score like that against Portland State, especially when you're in the Pac-12, when in years past people have doubted the Pac-12 for a college football playoff candidacy. You need to run up scores. And you saw that all across the Pac-12, and it started with Oregon. They're the best team in the Pac-12.
It's not just about running up scores either, man. Like, your 2s and your 3s are not going to get reps the later on it goes in the year, and the harder these games get. And that's how you develop Bo Nix's replacement. That's how you develop RB2, right? So when fans of teams come out and they're like, oh, they're just running up the score, I'm like, well, yeah, but they're running with their 2s and 3s to get them reps, right? That's how you develop players. And when your teams suck, you don't get to put in, QB2 or RB2 or RB3, like, and you never develop them, right? Like, I think games like that are important.
Yeah, and they also have a true freshman who is the better Ua Ungalele in the state of Oregon playing college football. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Who do you guys? Yeah, Texas Tech on Saturday night at 6 o'clock.
Let's go.
Yeah. We will be we'll be doing that game on playback. I might be a little bit late because I work till 6:30, but I will be hopping on there with our boy Magnificent Stan and Luke, and we're gonna do the Oregon Texas Tech game.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
All right, what do we got next? We have the Utes. I mean, that game was closer in score than what it really was, but I still think they should have beat Florida by more.
Yes, but they also were playing with the second and third string quarterback. Cam Rising, I think, is going to play this week. I don't know how much he's going to play.
They were without 8 starters.
Yeah, they don't need Cam Rising this week against Baylor. That's what I learned this past weekend. So I think he might get the start, and I think they're going to try to get up, a couple scores early, and they'll make a decision at halftime if they need them. Yeah, Utah wins this game big.
Okay. I like Utah. I think that That's a team that I would like to see be successful and become
Mhm.
like a major program, despite their Urban Meyer connections or history. But I think that's a fun team.
Yeah,
What do we got next? We have the Longhorns. UT is Texas back, Luke?
you can ask me that after their matchup this weekend. Right now,
Yeah,
right now, no.
not beating Rice 37-10. Texas
Yeah,
isn't back. We'll see. We'll see. And this Quinn Ewers Heisman bullshit I heard all week. Come on, give me a break.
yeah. We got to see more.
Yeah, I need to see.
Not enough real data here yet.
Right. Like, give me a break. All right. What do we got next? We have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They have a game this week that is going to be a good test. It's NC State. They beat Navy 42-3. That was in Dublin, right?
That was a Dublin game. Yep.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. Let's just get this all out on the air, right? I am not a Notre Dame fan, but I freaking like Marcus Freeman.
Okay.
I think he is good for that program, and I think college football is better when Notre Dame is good. I think it has like a spring in its step when Notre Dame is good. And I like Marcus Freeman, and it sucks because I don't want to like him, and I don't want to like this team. But Sam Hartman is a stud.
Yeah, that's again, he's one of my Heisman finalists at the end of the season, no matter what. He's people keep forgetting how good he was at Wake Forest. Like if you watch
Yeah.
Wake Forest football last year, he was the reason why Wake Forest was good.
Yep, I agree.
So I mean, I'm intrigued with when they get into their actual schedule now, not Navy
Not
and
Navy.
and not Navy, not Tennessee State. I'm excited to watch them play real football teams because that's one of the most intriguing teams in the country, in my opinion.
I don't disagree. So NC State will be a good test for them.
Yep.
So we'll see. All right, what do we have next? We have the Tennessee Volunteers, who beat up on the Cavaliers, Virginia, 49-13. I think their quarterback is the real deal.
Yeah, Michigan transfer Joe Milton.
Joe Milton, yeah.
He fits right in with that offense, and he's picking up where Hendon Hooker left off.
It's almost like Hendon Hooker never left. Right, he's picking up exactly where he left off. They're good, like they're fun. They're a top 10 team in the country now.
Yeah, people need to remember that Joe Milton was the starter last year, and Hendon Hooker took over for Joe Milton, and then Joe Milton stuck around. I mean, he's got a cannon of an arm. He throws the ball 90
Absolute
yards.
cannon. Weird mechanics, but
Yep.
absolute cannon for an arm.
Yeah,
That's another. So we talked about like high on the bucket list. Singing Rocky Top in Knoxville is absolutely super high on that list for me.
yeah.
What do you think of? Did you see the smoke gray unis that they announced?
I saw some. Was it something with like the first black quarterback to play in Tennessee or something like that? And it was like I saw a black and orange, which I didn't like. I didn't see a smoked gray one.
The smoke gray ones look pretty good. I'll send you a picture of those when we get off. But I'm a big uniform combo guy, so
yep.
I like what they just dropped. Let's see, what do we got next here? We have your boys, the Huskies.
They played well against Boise State. Boise State is typically a very respectful program. I don't know what the status of Boise State's program currently is in. But they did exactly what the rest of the Pac-12 needed to do, and they
hung up 56 points.
Yeah, they did what they had to do. They got the memo.
I did not. Joey P's Tennessee Vols going forward. Okay, then that is what they will be referred to. Yeah, 56 points against Boise State is nothing to scoff at. Some of these games are warm-up games, man. So like you have to have them. All right, let's see. What do we got next? Penn State, the Nittany Lions. What did Penn State do, Luke? Oh,
they won.
Yeah, they beat West Virginia 38-15. This is another team that you absolutely love in the Big Ten. Not love like as in they're your team, but like you
Right.
think that they're going to be competitive.
They're going to be in the mix all year. They got to watch out for a trap game later down the road against Illinois at Illinois. I think that's going to be a little bit skeptical. And then they get Michigan at home. But if I saw correctly, that's because of the TV deals, it's a Fox game at 11 o'clock. So you won't have the Penn State under the lights, whiteout type crowd for that atmosphere. So I was surprised when I saw that. But they're going to be there. I mean, they're real. I mean, West Virginia is trash. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the Power 5 conferences this year. But Penn State showed, like, hey, it's West Virginia. Let's just roll through this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what do we got? We have the USC Trojans who they beat up on they put up like 66 points, didn't they, Luke?
Yeah, against another small nobody team.
Yeah. The last week that I have is 56-28 against San Jose State.
Yeah, so that was week 0.
That was week 0, and they
Nevada. It was Nevada.
Yeah. I was way off.
So week 1 was Nevada. Week 0 was San Jose State.
San Jose State. I mean, Caleb Williams doesn't look like he's missed a beat at all.
Here's my thoughts on USC. Let me know when they play a team with a real defense. And let me know when their defense is going to show up, because I don't care about them playing Nevada or San Jose State so much. Anytime Lincoln Riley is in a big time game, his teams always melt down.
I just think they have the best player at the most important position.
Yeah, and that's why they're ranked as high as they were, or as high as they are, because they haven't done anything to move down in the rankings yet. Let's see how it plays out for USC. I think they're not the best team in the Pac-12. I think there's multiple teams better than them. So,
would you say that you're biased though?
Yes and no, because I also think that Washington is better than USC. And I know that Utah has USC's number, and Kyle Whittingham, who is actually, I think, the best coach in the Pac-12. You know, USC.
I'm gonna give you Oregon is better than SC. I'm not willing to give you Washington yet.
That's fair.
I'm not willing to concede that. But I digress. That's why we play the games, as Mike Norvell said to Brian Kelly in his post-game press conference. That brings us into the Ohio State University, my favorite team in the Big Ten.
No, it's not. That's a lie.
They're not at all. I'm not surprised that they fell a couple spots in the rankings because they only put up 23 points against Indiana.
They looked terrible. They don't have a quarterback.
They did not look good.
They have a quarterback problem. They have the best wide receiver in the country, but they have a quarterback problem because who's going to throw it to them?
They have probably 2 of the 5 best wide receivers in the country. But they don't, like, Kyle McCord does not look like him, if you will.
He's not.
Yeah. But they legit have Emeka and they have Marvin Harrison, right? 2 of the best wide receivers in the country. And they have nobody to get them the ball. Like, Marvin Harrison had 2 targets against Indiana.
18 yards, right?
2 receptions, 18 yards.
That's not going to work well.
Marvin Harrison needs to be Randy Moss and chuck it up there, dog, right? You throw it up, you let him go get it, or you let him make a move in space. And they should have put up at least 50 on Indiana, and they didn't.
I think we're going to see multiple Ohio State quarterbacks early in the game this week. They got to figure their shit out because they are not a top 5 team in the country.
No, because you know who fell into the top 5?
I do. Go for it.
The first half of this Sunday night game against LSU, I was nervous. Jordan Travis looked he just didn't look in rhythm, and the running game wasn't doing its thing. You know, Trey Benson wasn't running the ball particularly well, and they didn't run that counter that Mike Norvell likes to run really, really well. And then they made halftime adjustments, and it looked like he could be in New York City for the Heisman Trophy, like presentation, right? He threw the ball to Keon Coleman, who is a top 5 receiver in the country. Keon had, 10 receptions for 100 and something yards and 3 touchdowns. Johnny Wilson had a fucking phenomenal game. Keon Coleman and Jaheim Bell, the tight end transfer from South Carolina, absolutely stars of the show, right? Keon had 9 receptions for 122 yards and 3 touchdowns. Johnny Wilson, 7 receptions for 104 yards. And Jaheim Bell, 2 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown, but he also ran the ball a bunch and had a touchdown. Jordan Travis finished 23 for 31 with 4 touchdowns and his QBR of 94.7. It would have been over 100 if he didn't have that one garbage interception in the second quarter. After another, Luke, do you remember last year how many muffed punts LSU had? They muffed another one in the second quarter of that game. But these guys looked good. They looked like the real deal. They play Southern Miss this week. And then we have Duke and Wake and then Clemson.
Okay, so Duke is week 3.
Duke is week 3, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm circling that game because that game needs to be on everybody's radar way before the Clemson game now.
Yeah. Like Florida State cannot look past Duke.
Yep.
In this game, Duke is going to be a team that will give them a hard time. Now, is Florida State superior talent-wise than Duke? Yeah, absolutely. But these guys are going to absolutely throw their best at you every single week. Let me take a look here. No, I'm sorry. I misread that schedule, Luke.
Okay.
We go Southern Miss, Boston College, Clemson, and then when I am in Tallahassee with my boy Mike for Virginia Tech and Parents Weekend.
Okay.
Duke is October 21st.
Okay.
Where Florida State could legitimately be 7-0, 8-0.
Yep.
And then it's Duke in Tallahassee.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun one.
That'll be a good one. It'll be a good one. They look like the real deal, Luke. I know you watched the game because you were texting me a little bit during it. What do you think?
I think that whatever the hell is going on at Michigan State with Mel Tucker, how do you like Keon Coleman walk out those doors?
Hey, man.
They also they let these guys transfer after the spring game last year. They had him there for all of spring ball, and Keon Coleman still said, "Fuck it, I'm out." Their quarterback from last year, the Peyton Thorne, the Naperville Central kid, went to Auburn. He's Auburn's quarterback now. That was my other takeaway from all this. Michigan State, you had dudes, and you did nothing last year, and you're getting worse. God damn. But Florida State really, man, Jordan Travis, that dude's saying, put me in New York right now.
Yeah, it's good, it's fun, and I mean this with the utmost humility, but Noles fans have earned this, man. Willie Taggart absolutely shit the bed in his time in Tallahassee. Jimbo, won a natty, but he let that program fall into disarray. We earned this, and it makes me really, really happy. But we'll talk about them all year, I promise you. So that brings us to Alabama. Alabama, what did Alabama do this week, Luke?
They rolled. Jalen Milroe is the guy there at quarterback.
He's the new guy. Yeah, he's elusive. He
was impressive. I wasn't sure what they were going to do. They had a quarterback question with 3 guys, but I mean, Nick Saban's Nick Saban. He probably knew the whole time, this is our quarterback. This guy's.
And I don't feel like this was like Ohio State, right?
No.
Right? He didn't say anything because he's Nick Saban.
Yep.
Ryan Day didn't know because Kyle McCord's not that dude.
Yeah, you could see the difference there.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good debut by Tommy Rees as the new offensive coordinator for Alabama. Also,
They have a big game this week too.
yes,
It's
they
Texas.
do.
It's
This
Texas
is where it
in
gets real.
Tuscaloosa.
So, I'm I'm really excited for that game, especially after seeing Jalen Milroe. Like, I was like, okay, they got a guy. Like, I wasn't sure they've got a real quarterback there.
I am going to have the Oregon Texas Tech game on the MacBook,
Yep.
and I will have the Alabama Texas game on the big screen because that's a primetime game, isn't it?
Yeah, they both are 6 o'clock kickoffs.
Yeah. So we will be doing double duties here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited for that game. And then we get into our top three, our top two. Michigan. Luke, I know it was East Carolina and it was 30-3. And they didn't have their head coach, right? Because he's suspended for the first.
They didn't have their head coach or their offensive coordinator.
So I know I'm just going to say this. They lined up in that stupid tribute formation to Harbaugh, and it was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen.
It's hilarious. It's so dumb. It's funny. You don't need to do that. Like,
you don't need to do that. Like, he's only gone for a couple of games. They have UNLV this week, which they should score 50 against UNLV. And then their schedule it doesn't really get that much tougher. There's like 2 games on here where I'm like,
the Harbaugh suspension is like a fake suspension because, and then after that, their schedule is very, very weak.
Fucking Rutgers and
outside of Penn State and the Ohio game.
At the end of the season because both of those games are later on in the year.
They don't play Wisconsin either. So.
And then we have the 2-time defending national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs, who played UT Martin. They scored 48 points. Normally, I would say that they should put up way more than 48 points against UT Martin, and you're the number 1 team in the country. But they're breaking in Carson Beck, who is, their new starter now that Stetson Bennett has retired or went to the nursing home, I should say, because he was 52 years old. But this team just keeps rolling, man.
Yeah. Number 1 until somebody else proves a reason why they shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
Because Georgia's not going to do anything to dethrone themselves from being number 1. It has to be another team pushing the envelope like a Michigan.
Absolutely. Is it? So here's the deal. We went through, I would say, the last 10, 12 years where Alabama was the gold standard in college football. And they still are. Nick Saban still runs that program really, really well. Yep. But is Georgia at that same level as Alabama now when it comes to the standard of recruiting in college football?
They're right up there in the mix. I mean, Alabama has had a longer run, but Georgia's on a short-term run here. I mean, they're right there to do a three-peat, which never happens in college football. I mean, I'm sticking to my guns. Michigan's going to win it all.
I know you're going Michigan don't win it all, but
Michigan's going to win it all. But I mean, you can't knock Georgia at all right now because let's see how they do once they get into the real schedule. But they're going to still be dominant.
I agree completely. I meant to text you when I was at work the other day. I want to go back to something real quick here.
Okay,
Luke, who's your wide receiver on Oregon from Arizona?
The transfer?
No, he's not from you. He's like from Arizona. He is, what's his name? Kyle. Let me take a look at something here real quick. Bear with me.
Okay.
Oregon depth chart, wide receiver, Kyler Casper.
Mm-hmm.
He is from Gilbert, Arizona. He is a redshirt freshman. Well, his grandfather is from Downers Grove.
Oh, really?
And he bought a new MacBook on Tuesday.
Okay.
He walked in with like a coach's gear Ducks polo on.
Yep.
And that right away was a cue for me to have a conversation with him.
Okay. That's awesome.
And he showed me pictures because he was at the game this weekend. And I just thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, that's okay. That's probably he's a redshirt freshman, has not gotten a lot of action yet, but he probably played. I missed it. Like he probably played late in the game, like all these other
Probably
freshmen and
absolutely did.
redshirt freshmen. So that's cool. That's a fun
Yeah,
story.
I thought of you right away. I meant to tell you.
Yeah.
I meant to text you, but yeah, that's the week 1 AP top 25. For you guys that don't necessarily love college football, we do have a slate of games that you should probably watch if you're trying to get into it, or the best games to watch this week. Luke, any games that you want to talk about in particular?
Oh, I don't know. There's a team from Eugene that has to go to Lubbock, Texas this week. I think we all know where we're getting at this with Oregon and Texas Tech. We're doing the playback 6:00 on Saturday night on the playback stream. Texas Tech went to Wyoming as a 14-point favorite on the road. We're up 17-0, and then blew a 17-0 lead to Wyoming and lost in double overtime. They have their starting linebacker, their starting Mike linebacker will be out this week. He's out, I believe, 2 to 4 weeks with an injury now. They also have another starting linebacker out for Texas Tech as well. That doesn't bode well when you're going up against an Oregon offense like this. Oregon just has to do their thing, and I think they should be able to cruise. Texas Tech is a very hard place to play. It's probably going to be 100-something degrees. That's where it could be a little bit challenging, but Oregon's well coached. They'll find ways to prepare for the heat and playing fast. They've got so much depth on defense and offense. Like the D-line depth is better than it's ever been. The running back depth is deeper than it's ever been. The wide receiver depth is better than it's ever been. Since I watched Oregon, I think you're going to see a lot of different things from this team on Saturday, and people are going to this could be the game for Oregon where people are like, oh shit, they're better than I thought. Yeah, they put up 81 points last week. 81. How many, nobody puts up 80 points in a college football game. That's not it doesn't matter who you're playing. And if your 2s and 3s are playing, you put up 81 points. This could be a statement game for Oregon to go on the road to Texas Tech, and they could win by 3 touchdowns potentially. Or it's a 3-point game.
Right.
Or it's a close 3-point game. But they went from being 3-point favorites on the look ahead, and then after that Texas Tech loss and the Oregon dominance, they are now 7-point favorites. That's a big number for going on the road in a Big 12 setting.
And a Big 12 matchup in Lubbock in early September, I don't disagree. We also have a couple other games that you guys should probably pay attention to. First, Miami and Texas A&M. They signed a home and home. Was it a home and home, or were they neutral sites? No, I think they were home and home.
Pretty sure it's home and home.
Yeah, so they played last year when both teams were severely underperforming. They get the second game of that home and home this week. Texas A&M is the number 23 team in the country. Miami's unranked. They get a W. They're a top 25 team. You have Bama and Texas, the big boys. That's probably the game of the week.
It's the game of the week.
That's the game of the week, right? Texas, we hear it every year. Is Texas back? Is Texas back? They beat Bama. Texas is back. Quinn Ewers struggles, and they got to figure something else out. Texas probably isn't back yet. We have, for local fans, we have Illinois and Kansas, right? It's always been a big thing. And then finally, we have Nebraska and Colorado, the Big 12 matchup from my youth, right? Nebraska and Colorado, Rashawn Salam, Tommy Frazier, the traditional rivalry is back with Dion. And I'm going to say the Buffaloes go 2-0, Luke.
It's funny that we're mentioning this matchup and this rivalry. If Colorado did not win in week 1, we would not have had this on our radar.
We would not have all. You're not wrong.
And now here we are.
But if Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter play like they did in week 1, Colorado's 2-0.
Yeah, this will be the first time that I will be able to watch Matt Rule and Nebraska too. So that'll be.
I'm sorry that you have to do that.
2 first-year head coaches going together in a rivalry game.
Yeah.
So
It'll be fun to watch. There's also, there's a plethora of other college football on every week. They might not be games, Georgia plays Ball State. You have the Buckeyes and the Penguins, Youngstown State, Notre Dame, NC State we have this week.
it's a big one.
That's a big one. We have Tulane and Ole Miss.
That's one. I'm going to watch that one.
Yeah.
That's Tulane is a covers machine. I'm going to definitely be betting on Tulane to cover that spread. Last I saw, it was like 6.5, which is absurd for how good Tulane has been over the last year. I don't know if they're going to win. I might do a money line sprinkle on that as well, but I'm definitely going Tulane in the points there.
You also have USC Stanford, where USC is a 30-point favorite to beat Stanford.
Stanford is not good.
They're not good.
Like they're not in that same, like they're in the Pac-12 and they won it last week, but they played Hawaii. That was the sickos game of the week, in my opinion. Stanford and Hawaii that's sicko mode right there.
But yeah, those are our games of the week. Luke, do you got anything else?
No, I'm looking forward to more college football. I don't think we got any games tomorrow. We might have one tomorrow night, but I think it's mostly Friday because the NFL takes over the show tomorrow night.
Yeah, NFL. Yeah, they don't want to go up. They don't want to go up against Thursday night kickoff. No, I don't see anything top 25 wise, at least.
Yeah.
Everything is Saturday. But yeah, I think that's our episode for tonight. We'll be back again next week. We don't have a definitive day yet. We would like to do it after the AP poll drops, maybe on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It doesn't matter, but we'll see what we got next week after this plethora of college football matchups, and we'll have your AP top 25 again. Oh, week 3. Let's look ahead to week 3 real quick, Luke.
Okay, what do you got?
Penn State and Illinois.
Yes.
Yeah.
Giddy up.
That'll be fun.
People are forgetting about Illinois in the Big Ten.
I think so too.
Yeah, it pains me to say that because I am not an Illini fan, and the Illini fans are very much Chicago sports fans, if you know what I mean, as far as fandom. We get really, 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 really excited about a team, and then they always seem to disappoint you.
Well, we'll see, man. I think Bielema has got that team. I think he's recruiting the right way for the way you have to recruit at U of I. So we'll see. But we'll see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
I'm Sfo. That's Luke. We'll talk to you guys later.
Later. Nice.